All right. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the HHC podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my wonderful brothers, Chris, Juan, and Josh. Josh, it's been way too long since you've been on the last podcast. How have you been, man?
Yeah, man, I've been good. I've been busy a little bit, so it's good to get back on here. I got on the last time when I was on call for like 2 minutes, but yeah, it's been a while since I got to sit down. It's
Yeah,
nice.
for sure. Juan, how you been?
Been good. It's been a chilly week, so it's starting to warm back up a little bit.
Yeah, chilly week indeed. Over here in Lubbock, I have to wear 3 layers of clothes, so I am cold this morning. Chris, how's your week been?
All right, it's sun's out at least today, right? It's been gloomy as heck the last couple days, so I'm feeling spirits are up.
Spirits are indeed up. Well, we do come onto this podcast every Sunday at 10 a.m. On all four platforms of Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Make sure that if you cannot watch us throughout our live time, that you'll be able to watch us on all four platforms right after the fact with the following VODs that come out. Make sure you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about Spurs basketball on the near daily. We love the conversations that we have with the Spurs family, so don't be afraid to reach out to us. We love the interactions. With that being said, the San Antonio Spurs had a it was a very short week of basketball because we had two games back to back, but they were very long games in those two games. The San Antonio Spurs played on Friday in a double overtime game against the Washington Wizards, where we did come out on top 157 to 153. Following that night, we had a back to back and played against the Miami Heat, where again was only 4 quarters, where we lost 129 to 133. But that game was not even over with the third quarter, 3 hours into it. So it was a pretty long two games that the San Antonio Spurs had to play. Josh, you hadn't been here for a while, so I gotta get to know your thoughts first, man. What do you how are you feeling about this week overall?
I mean, I felt great. Like that. Last night was rough. Bam kind of had his way with everybody that guarded him. You knew it was gonna be like that with Yak, not being there, and then I mean, Jock can only do so much, and I think Pop touched on it earlier on in the season that Zach Collins was probably not gonna like play too much in back to backs, and I can't even remember if he played like now that I'm thinking about it because he didn't play much last night. I think he only had like 15 minutes or helped us a lot, and Pop didn't obviously he didn't go that route, but yeah, Bam had his way with us. The guys fought hard. Um, Dev had that nice dunk at the beginning, and he was going off for like 3 quarters, and then he kind of fizzled out. And then Lonnie picked it up. Lonnie didn't do nothing in the first half, and he picked it up in the third and fourth. And it was kind of it would have been nice to have complete games from both those guys. Then we probably, maybe the outcome would have been a little bit different. But it was a good week for. I mean, I say good week, but a good 2 games, good back to back. So I mean, I'm impressed with our guys post All Star post trade deadline. I feel like we've been playing some really good basketball, and I'm excited to see what if we can make that push into that 10th spot.
Exactly. Juan, you had just been talking about it on the last video that we had put up, which was trying to see if the guys were going to come back from the All Star break fighting hard. So I want to hear your thoughts after that. Like what do you think
Y-
about that?
Yeah, like the effort was great. I like you can't be mad, especially like with guys missing your big three essentially missing against Miami. But the game against Washington was like, yeah, it was fun, it was exciting, we got the win, but I mean we gave up 150 points. So I know it was double overtime, but it was like 130 points in regulation. It's just it was frustrating to see that. Obviously, like coming out of the break, you're not expecting um, to just be like perfectly right back in tune with everybody else. But both teams were struggling. They were like making a point. Dan Weiss and Sean, they talked about, oh, Washington, they're pretty bad at shooting threes. and then they were going off on threes. And then we're pretty bad at free throws, getting to the line and knocking down free throws, and then we had like our best free throws night of the year. So I think it was just two bad teams coming off of a break, or two bad defensively teams coming off of a break, and it showed. And then the
Yeah,
Miami
they're
game
like
was
the number one in the East, right? A bad team.
no, I'm talking
Aren't they
about
number
Washington.
one? Oh,
Talking about
Washington.
Wa-
I'm sorry. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
they're
and then
bad too.
Miami, that's where it really like shined with everybody missing. We had people step up. Yeah, like Josh said, it wasn't complete games. Like Devin felt like he had his spots in spurts, and he had like 8 points at a time, and then would kind of like it like would wait a little bit. And then yeah, Lonnie didn't show up until the second half. But to just have guys step up in different spots, I think like at one point we had 40 points in the game or in the first quarter, and our leading scorer was Devin with 6. So like everybody was getting after it, everybody was showing effort, and we just we couldn't hang. It got to the fourth quarter, things start to get really tough, and then we could not stop Bam. But that's what can you do with the lineups we had out there, and Zach being on like minute restriction, and so it was it was a good effort though. Just good to see the guys go out there and try and not just give up just because their main guys were out.
Exactly. No, that was definitely one of the things that like I noticed with Miami. Like as soon as I realized, I remember going to Twitter and seeing like the tweet late that Pop had said Zach was going to be on a minutes restriction, and then I like look over into the thing and it says like he'd played 17 minutes up to that point. I was like, oh no, no more Zach. And then I look over, fourth quarter kind of starts, and then I just start seeing Bam go on this tear. And it was just one of those things. I was like, I was waiting for Miami to start utilizing Bam more because I knew we didn't have the size to keep up with him.
Oh, I was so
And
in touch. Did Jimmy Butler just not play at all in the fourth?
I don't think he did. I don't think I
Was
remember seeing him at all on the floor.
it was just the
They
Bam
just
show,
let
right?
They were
they
on a
just let
second game of a
Kyle
back
and
to back
Bam.
too.
They
Yeah,
were.
and they
Yeah,
just let
they
Kyle and
were.
Bam
So
run.
It
I think
was
that they just sat Jimmy because I was noticing that too, and I don't think he got hurt, and I didn't see anything that he got hurt or Sean and them didn't mention anything, and I was like, well, they're probably just resting him.
Hmm. Yeah, you'd have to assume so. Which I mean, they played their cards right because they like in my head they used like the one thing that all game was a weakness, but they just didn't start to like utilize it until right there at the very end, and that's how Bam got his stuff. But Chris, I can't leave out of this, man. Got to hear what your thoughts are too on what these last two games were.
Kind of the same. Kind of the same. I mean, and I agree with what you just said, Jake. Like right now is like, there's been a couple games. I think it was mainly against like the Lakers this year, where it felt like they were kind of just coasting for 3 quarters, and then they just kind of turn it on us in the last one, and that's kind of what it felt like to me too. I did miss the second quarter, which I'm glad because that's when the game really got ugly. But like same thing like you said though. It was a little bit of I felt a little foolish like thinking back to our predictions of win loss for the week or whatever, and I said it last week or a couple days ago when we recorded the episode of like it could go our way of like, okay, we want to put the right focus in and have enough time to rest our guys for the second night to the back-to-back, or it could go the other way, which is we're not focused enough. It turns into a close game. I didn't know it was going to be like double overtime, take all night close, but that's kind of what happened, right? It's like as soon as I saw the injury report, I was like, of course, like we're not going to have our starting center for this game, and it's just going to be a nothing game. So it felt like the loss was coming even at the beginning when it was kind of close. It was like they just kind of looked like they were half asleep. Even Kyle Lowry, we closed it to 4 and 2 minutes to go, and then it was like they push us out in like a minute. You know what I mean? So that game, it was I think we were just outmatched, and they hit us in the right time. The Washington game was a lot of fun to watch. It was great to see. It was great to see Lonnie and Devin kind of in some of those moments too. Like obviously DJ is the guy who's leading us through a lot of these big moments that we've been having. But it's been fun to see some of these guys kind of step into him a little bit more. DJ was having fun that night. So at least we were able to come away with that win. So we're doing all right.
And career highs from a lot of folks on the team.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't want to overlook too much. I just didn't know how much we're gonna like stick around and go back, but yeah, like you said, love to see continued not production, but just growth from like Jakob. Man, I love seeing. There's so many more times now where it's like, he's using his size to his advantage. He's using like post moves to his advantage, like knowing that the defender isn't like they're not a post defender. If I just do this simple thing, it's gonna be good. You know what I mean? So like that's the kind of stuff I really like.
Yeah, a lot of that is like DJ, that chemistry, dude. Dejounte Murray he puts that guy in like the best positions for him, and like now, like it's apparent this season, he knows exactly what to do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
well,
he's
and also
like
we're
perfect.
we're so much more willing to like go to 4 pick and rolls in a row, whereas like last year it was like, hey, can we? Every other team runs these high pick and rolls. Can we do something like that? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Also, like that's what made me so upset when like there were the rumors like Jakob could be up for trade. It's like that is DJ's guy. They have so much like chemistry, they're picking rolls and everything
Good
like that,
chemistry. Yeah.
and they just want to like throw it away. And then now you're gonna have to build another 2-3 years before you can get to that with a new player. And it's like, or like hope you even get a guy as good as big as Jakob. It like I don't know why people were wanting to just blow up the team. With these foundation pieces that we have, nobody may be
It's
like
because
a
we got
superstar.
a lot of team tank people on Spurs side right now, and that's what they want. They want to blow it up, and they want that, Chet or they want that draft pick way up there,
Yeah.
and not
Well,
me. I want that 10th spot.
well, Josh, it sounds to me like you're on the side of Spurs contention, which is another thing for, in a sense, pushing playoffs, right? It sounds like you are one of those guys of many of I'm pretty sure all 4 of us on this side that we are trying to get San Antonio into that 10th seed, if not higher, because we think there's a chance. We think there's a good chance that we could push into this playing position. The current Spurs record right now, we're pretty much we're over halfway through the season right now, and the Spurs record right now is 24-37, which puts us 4 games out, or I'm sorry, not 4 games out. That puts us actually only a game and a half behind the actual 10th seed. With the ninth seed was the Lakers, which is that 4 games out, and so. That puts us, at least not too far behind the Trailblazers, but a good bit behind the ninth seed. So, guys, what do y'all think? What do y'all think the game plan is moving forward? What do y'all think we need to do moving forward in order to start making this playoff push that I'm sure all 3 of y'all are very adamant about doing? Chris, I'll start with you.
I mean, in terms of like a game plan, I don't really think that there is like you're kind of mapping out the standings and stuff like that. I don't think that there's a game plan in terms of like navigating it other than just you try to play your best basketball. I do think that the schedule favors us in the sense that we just have so many opportunities to play against teams that are right in that range that you just said. We got from now until the end of the season, we have Sacramento once. We have Minnesota twice, OKC
New
once,
Orleans twice, right?
New Orleans twice, the Lakers once, and Portland 3 times. And that's the big one is Portland right there, because like you just said, we're only a game and a half out of that 10 spot. So like a lot of it we can control. You know what I mean? Like imagine if that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 10 games right there, right? So imagine if 10 of our wins, or imagine if 10 of our wins came against those teams right there. If we just won those, that's already helping mathematically helping us out like a lot. You know what I mean? So, I just think that we just got to put our heads on and get to it. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's really too much else around that in terms of just like what our plan would be.
Yeah. Well, in that sense, I guess I was trying to just figure out like what the thought process is in terms of like how can we keep ourselves in the mix, right? Like what are we trying to do with our guys, especially with like that like second like the bench rotations to like make sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position to win. Like what do you think it is, Lonnie Walker? Do you think it is like Josh Richardson? Like what do you think our roster needs to do in terms of rotations to push us in a better position.
I mean,
after the last games that
I
we've
feel
seen.
I feel like we're in a good position right now where it's like all the guys we have are playing. You know what I mean? There's only like Langford, and that's kind of who else is like not seeing like heavy, not even heavy minutes. Because I mean, not to compare numbers, but just seeing the floor in general. I feel like we kind of have to use everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even the idea of knowing Collins is probably going to continue to be on a minutes restriction for, at least let's say another month. You know what I mean? Who knows? We don't really know, but that means we're going to still see days where KBD gets more minutes than normal, or K-Cot gets a little bit more minutes than normal. If we're going to have games or if Pop is going to continue, we talked a little bit about this like maybe 3 episodes ago. Like, is Pop going to continue to rest Dejounte in random spots, from now until the end of the year? So if that happens, that's more minutes for Primo. That's minutes for Trey. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like everybody's going to play.
Okay. So the one thing that all right, go ahead, Juan.
When it comes to like the roster thing, I think something I know is to see how serious our team is. We bought out or cut Thomas Satoransky. We touched on it a little bit on our episode just a couple of days ago before these 2 games about like, getting a look at these new players and new additions. But now it's really just Josh Richardson, because Romeo Langford's not even getting time to play when 3 guys are getting out.
He's not. He wasn't even. He hasn't been suited up. He's been in street clothes every single game we've got him. It's only been a couple of games, but
he was out with injury report on this last game. Just to note,
Yeah,
against Miami, he was out. Josh Richardson and Josh Primo were all questionable, but Romeo Langford was the only person that got labeled out. Both Joshes were able to play.
Right, but so I guess my point is like Richardson is like the only guy we got back out of any of the trades we made that has been part of the rotation. We bought out Goran Dragic and Satoransky, and that's 2 roster spots we have like open. That we just maybe we could fill another big guy or something, and that's something to just look forward to. I would hope this week, maybe today, you would get news later today, like adding a player, because I just don't see us trying to make a playoff push with
when do we have to make
spots.
the decisions on the K-Cock and Joe Camp? Are they roster spots, or
They're
can they
two-way
just be
players.
brought up and be? I know, but can they be permanent? You know what I mean? And fill those spots.
They don't have to be permanent. They could just play with us because they're G League players.
So, but with this year, because Josh, I know what you're talking about, where it's do they have like an NBA days restriction thing?
You know what I'm talking about?
And there's like only a certain amount of days that like 2-way contracts can get pulled up. But with like this year and like last year too, they pretty much like freed those restrictions. So that like teams would just have those players when they need those players.
So they could just bounce back. They're not going to make us make a decision on them.
Yeah, no.
I thought that's what we were going to do with those spots. I thought we're like, well, there's those spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So speaking of, oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead, Chris. Oh, it's just clarifying what Josh was saying.
So kind of like what Juan was saying about just like we made the move on Satoransky, in Washington. What does that mean? Are we going to try to fill that spot or whatever? So last night I was thinking the same thing because, okay, if you're going to have the idea of sometimes you're going to rest a guy like Dejounte, or you're not afraid to rest Dejounte, you're not afraid to rest Jakob, but obviously it puts us at a detriment for like the whole game. You know what I mean? It's like, are we going to try to fill that in? So I went to the free agent list, and I just literally typed or sorted it by height and tried to see who the heck is still out there that's big, right? So I'm just gonna like say names, and like if any of these names like, hey, let's talk about it. So these are free agents as of right now, and I started just from tallest, and I went down to 6'11" because I don't want anything shorter than that. Taco Fall, Jay Huff, John Teskey, Moses Brown, Myers Leonard, Mark Gasol, Johnny Hamilton, Vincent Poirier, Justin Patton. I'm just trying. Oh, Thon Maker. I don't want to say everybody, but
yeah.
Give me Taco. I'll take Taco.
Harry Giles, Jaleel Okafor, Cody Zeller again, Greg Monroe. I'll probably stop there at Greg Monroe, but still, like, I guess the does any of that spark your interest, or like just do you see any value in picking up somebody like that for basically just for nights like this? You're not asking Taco Fall to come in and do anything other than Yaka is not playing tonight, so we need you to be the new like third string big for when Collins is going to start, but not have but still be on restriction or whatever. So does anybody want to jump in with that?
I really liked when you said Greg Monroe and Jahlil Okafor. Those are both just like two big guys that at least I know have. Greg Monroe was serviceable in the league at one point. Jahlil Okafor at least looked like he could have had some of the tools to be serviceable.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that like filling up a 14th, 15th man position with one of those two guys, as well as the Harry Giles, like that, he's like just a young big though. And so like obviously you don't really know what you would really get with him, but like just any of those three names just sounds like that's perfectly fine to put in there.
Yeah, I mean, and they're like Jahlil Okafor. He's been in the league. He understands what he's a pro. He's a pro. Yeah. So it's like he's a guy that you can slip in at, like you said, at that 14th roster spot or whatever. So me personally, I was in the same boat. Greg Monroe is somebody who I was like, that's an easy, like, let me call that guy and see if he's interested kind of call for me. Same thing, Okafor, I would make the call and just see, you know what I mean? I think Marc Gasol is like playing right now maybe, or he's like, he might be overseas, but he's still like considered a free agent. So I would still call shoot just to see, but I mean, but yeah, and also Taco Fall, right? I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, like
he's in the G League, right? That's the only reason I say Taco, because those other guys, I mean, I'm sure
they might have just been sitting.
Yeah, I'm sure they're in basketball shape. I mean, I would think that they would be waiting for a call, but I know Taco's at least playing, and if we could get him out there, like remember how we used to do with Boban, just throw him out there like for X amount of minutes for just a little spark. That's a big old guy. A block or two and a dunk, and then the crowd's into it, the team's into it, and sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, and I haven't seen him play too much, like in Boston, and then he got traded out of Boston, right? Is it or
yeah.
So I haven't seen him play all that much, but I do know that he does have, like you made a good comparison with Boban. Like Boban, every time he would go in, immediately the crowd was into it. It only took maybe one or two little baby things for his, like it felt like his contributions meant more for some reason, right?
Just because of the presence,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He's a big.
So Taco kind of has a little bit of that going for him too, and so again, if you're doing it at the 14th roster spot, like it doesn't have to feel like you're taking a big gamble. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would be way open to filling our spot with one of these guys.
Like I like you said, I think the home games, right? Can you imagine if we were playing last night and at home? I mean, obviously we're on the road trip, but and he got a big block on Bam or something, and the crowd got into it, and then we got into it. Like that's why I would just say that guy,
Yeah,
I think he could help us, and then he brings a little bit of that like excitement just because he's so freaking big, and people people just cheer for him. As soon as he steps on the floor, they want to see him do something.
Yeah, exactly. And then from a basketball standpoint, like we watched in the fourth quarter, we watched Bam score like 4 or 5 possessions like in a row, back to back to back to back. Yeah. So like imagine if he goes in there and he can just give you a few plays where he disrupts him, right? So now it's like a make miss make, or something like that, and that kind of helps to stop the momentum that they were on, or give us a breathing. Give us a second to breathe, to maybe where we're not waiting. We don't cut it to 4 with 2 minutes to go. Maybe we cut it to 4 with like 4 or 5 minutes to go. You know what I mean? And have a little bit more of a shot. You know what I mean? So I'm down with that. I'm down with that.
Yeah, and there's so much that San Antonio can try to do to try to like have us make this playoff push. Like there's how much time left in this league? We have at least all of March and then going into April, right?
Basically like a month and a half.
Yeah, exactly, right. So about a month and a half's worth of basketball left, and San Antonio still has a lot to do. But we can start to go ahead and look into what this next week's games are going to be. We finish out this rodeo road trip and the month of February on Monday, where we play against the Memphis Grizzlies. And then we finally get to go back home, have a couple days of rest, and be home to play the Sacramento Kings on Thursday before having to fly right back out to play the Charlotte Hornets on Saturday. So to me, this week is going to be a very, very interesting week to see. We are another rematch against the Grizzlies to finish out the road trip. Then on Thursday, we get to see the Sabonis trade in full action. We get to see us play against Sacramento before going to Charlotte to go against just LaMelo and that entire crew, also trying to make a playoff push. So, Juan, I just kind of pointed out a little bit of these guys. How do you feel about this week going forward?
The week going forward, I guess I feel like I say this every time Memphis is part of our week, but like that's the only game I care about. I want us to finally beat Memphis. It feels like it's been 3 or 4 years since we beat them, and you know, growing up, I'm fairly young. I'm only 23, and growing up, you hear all these teams that after we start to go into this little rebuild and teams start to beat up on us, and like you hear their fans and they're like, finally, like the Spurs beat on us for so many years because of Timmy and all them, and like now, like we're going through a little bit of struggles. I don't want to be that bitter where I'm like, finally we're beating up on Memphis, or finally they suck. Like I want it to just stay competitive all these years. That way there's not like a reverse of that situation. But Memphis has always been like really like their grit and grind type stuff and their attitude, and I just always felt like our guys kind of just give into that. We always get punked by them. We always kind of let them get whatever they want, do whatever they want to us. So I just would love to see our guys come out there and maybe punch them in the mouth first or do something, and obviously Dejounte versus Ja Morant would be it's always an exciting matchup. I feel like Dejounte didn't have his best game last time, and so I feel like he's ready to come back. As far as Charlotte and Sacramento, I feel like you got to take care of business with those teams. They're both struggling teams as well. Charlotte was doing well earlier in the season, I believe, and then they started to like fall and dip before the All-Star break. But they still got LaMelo Ball. Last time we played them, we thought without LaMelo we were gonna take care of business, and they had like 4 guys score like 20 points on us. What it felt like. So we got some work to do this week, which is no different. We got to go out there and take care of business one game at a time. We'll have 2 days of rest between Memphis and Sacramento, and so hopefully that'll just get us ready to finish the week out strong at home.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where I'm just like you're saying, where like I'm very much paying attention to the Memphis game, like first and foremost, first game of the week, end of the Rodeo Road Trip. If we get this W, then that's a winning record on the Rodeo Road Trip, which is something that I think we haven't seen in a minute. But then it's also just like I want us to take care of business against Sacramento, and then in that Charlotte game, like you said, like it's like a thing where we just have to take advantage of the situation that they're not playing up to where they used to play. So that's I have generally the same feelings on that kind of stuff. But Josh, what can you add to what you think the week would go?
I mean, yeah, like I agree with Juan. I don't have much more to add on just because I feel the same way. Memphis has been like whipping our ass for a little while, and it does like I know a win is a win is a lot and a loss is a loss, but I feel like it just like means more, when we lose to these guys, and then it's kind of like the way we lose too, they do kind of just put it on us, and I do feel like we do kind of fold a little bit. So I hope that that things change. I hope that Dejounte is I mean, I think he's motivated. Like the coming out of the All-Star break, like he's an All-Star. He proved he belonged there. He did his thing in the game. He's doing his thing all season. I hope that he comes out versus another All-Star and and puts on a show for us, and we could get a dub. Like I think it's gonna be a fun game. I think it's the easily the like the the game that's most to look forward to. Like just like Juan said, like I really don't have much else to say, but it's gonna be rough because Memphis always puts it on us. But I think our guys are. I think our guys are playing good basketball right now, post All-Star break. Like I don't see us folding like we used to, like how like we have been. Like I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I'll echo the same things, just about the importance. I do feel like it's a very important week. Memphis, for all the reasons that they just said about, and especially being in a division rivalry, it's like you feel it more, you want it more, or at least from a fan's point of view, it's like I'm trying to beat Memphis every time, Dallas every time, Houston every time. You know what I mean? Like, so from that point of view, for sure. For Sacramento, they're right below us in the standings, right? So it's like if we can, early on, if we were going down that list, Minnesota, OKC, New Orleans, Lakers, Portland, like if we can already just start to create some more distance between us right there, make it harder for them, make them have to push harder to try to get up there, so overall, just a very important week. I will say, like Charlotte, the last time we played them, like I think Charlotte was one of those teams that they just kind of beat up on us. Like we just didn't have the size, because they're just like, I'm looking at their roster, and it's just like between, and now they have Montrez and Gordon Hayward's not playing, but Hayward was just too big for us last time. Kelly Oubre was too big for us, because I think he was coming in and playing against some of our against our smaller guards, right? So like those are the things that worry me, right? But overall, it's just an important week for me. I would love to say that we can come out of this with 2 wins out of these three teams, but I think this is gonna be like hard fought games all the way through.
I agree with that. If there's one thing that I'll say, I'm excited to see like a little bit of in a sense just a small new look Spurs, obviously, just because we're still adjusting to like the additions and subtractions that we made to our roster. There was one thing that I wanted to mention earlier, which was like in looking at like the OKC game, it looks like the minutes are all fine with our guys with the addition of Josh Richardson getting his PT. But then I also looked at it and like Trey Jones didn't get minutes that game. And so then that's like where my questions kind of come into play, is like, well, what are we going to do with those like bench guard rotational minutes? Because we have Trey, Josh, and Lonnie to like distribute those minutes to. And I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see Lonnie get his 20 plus, and then I'd like to see Josh Richardson get 17 minutes. But then like, are we just giving 14 minutes to one of Josh and Trey every game, or whatever the case may be?
I kind of feel like you have to keep Trey and Primo on like a similar leash, because right now they kind of have similar responsibilities, right? It's like one of you guys is going to be leading the point guard duties for the second unit, and if one of us is having an off night, then it's the other one who's going to play more or whatever. You know what I mean? And then Richardson is just,
and you're definitely not
fill in. Go ahead.
You're definitely not taking no minutes. I'm just saying the way Lonnie's been playing 5 games straight, it's been a pretty good sample size of what he can do. So like the minutes are going to have to come elsewhere. I mean, but you see Primo, like last night, he played I don't even know how many minutes he played, but he fouled out. He got in foul trouble pretty quick. So I feel like he's like, how Pop said, like we're going to throw him in there and he's going to play, and he's going to have to learn. There's going to be games like just like this, like he's going to get into foul trouble, and then obviously Trey's going to have to do his thing. So like those guys are going to, I think that's where we're going to have to find just those two. Like I feel like Josh Richardson, like, and Lonnie have their minutes set. Like just like you said, Jake, like that's how I feel. It's going to be Trey, like Chris said, they're going to have to flip flop. Who's going to want it more, X night versus
I don't mind if every game starts with like, okay, Trey is Richardson is the one who's gonna, for now he's new, he's the one who's gonna start with the mindset of he's gonna play the least, because we do want to try to get Trey and Primo minutes on a game-to-game basis. But then again, like Josh said, if there's a game where Primo starts to take himself out of the game because of fouls, well, that's where Richardson can step in. You know what I mean? I don't know, like what you just said about like Richardson getting set, or you would like for him to get about 17. I don't know if that's in the plans for them or not, or anything like that. But I would think that they would start with less minutes for him.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too about like the whole like Trey Primo situation. Primo definitely needs the minutes, and it's what we talked about a couple of times, and I think Sean Elliott even said it on the broadcast yesterday. Like, you need to give Primo these minutes because even if he excels, then it just helps our playoff push. It just helps us as a team, and if not, like, oh well.
Yeah.
Like he has.
He said it's a win-win, right? That's what he said
Yeah,
last
like
night.
yeah,
He
like
said we can't
yeah,
lose giving him
exactly.
minutes.
Yeah, if he doesn't excel, if he has games like last night where he fouls out, it's better in the long run. He's going to get better from this. He's going to learn, and I think Trey's a better player. I think Trey showed it last night. Like he's more of a not, I'm not going to say Trey's a finished product because I don't want to put like a ceiling on him right now. But like he's clearly
he's
like
just more mature than the 19-year-old baby.
yeah, and it just shows last night. And Trey looks really like smooth out there. He's one of the few guys on the court where he like knows what he's trying to do, and he's a point guard. He's a pure point. He's setting teammates up, and it's nice to see him like starting to score like a little bit more. But that's why like it's such a like a conflicting like role with those two because it's you need to give minutes to Primo, but it's like, well, Trey's your best option like right now, like for the game, but Primo needs those minutes. And I agree with like what Josh and Chris said, where it's like if Primo kind of like plays himself out of games, then it just makes it easier to kind of put a guy or two in there in those spots in those minutes. Again, Jake focuses a little too much on the minutes for my taste, like where he's like, oh, he needs to play at least 17 minutes. Like if the guy's playing well, he's gonna stay out there on the court. If he's not, guys are all around the same talent. Like you can mix and match and move things around. Like Lonnie used to have games where he would just play 12 minutes because he's not doing nothing out there. And then those games like last night, he didn't do nothing at all in the first half, and he got his opportunity in the second. He did something with it. He finished the second half out mostly, and he only ended up with like 24, 25 minutes for the whole game. So that's just kind of where our team is. Dejounte, Jakob, Keldon, right? Like those are the guys are going to get over 30 minutes a game. And if even when Devin doesn't like excel and is not having a great game, Pop's not afraid to just kind of pull down on him and play somebody else. When Doug's not hitting any shots, Pop pulls down on him.
He got pulled last night, Devin. Like I thought he should have played more in the fourth quarter, and
I was gonna ask
play
that
him
like
the whole first I think like towards the end whenever it got close, then he put like Devin back in like.
I believe
him and Lonnie should have played more.
I believe he sat from like the 8-minute mark a little bit to around like the 4-minute mark.
Right, the 4, yeah. And I was like, whoa, dang, this is a gutsy move, dude.
Yeah. So I was thinking the exact same thing because when he came in, it felt to me like, okay, like when he was out, Lonnie was being very aggressive, right? When those 4 minutes. And so in my head, I was like, okay, they're going to sit him for a little bit now, just to kind of keep their, energy level or whatever. And then they're going to close the game together or whatever. So when Devin came in, I was anticipating, okay, the ball went through Lonnie. Lonnie was chucking shots up like crazy when it was his turn. So I was anticipating Devin to come in and do the same thing. And he really did not. Like instead it was
I think
hit,
they
hit
pulled
Bates.
him.
No, I'm talking about when he came back in, though. When he came back in.
No, but I'm saying they pulled Lonnie. Whenever Devin came back in, they pulled.
Yes.
Them, and I wanted them to play together. Like let those guys run. Like
I was gonna ask the same thing. Like, did you guys feel like we should have had both of them in at least for the last like 4 minutes?
Yeah, because I think Lonnie came back in. Well, he went to the scores table with a 2 minutes to go, like for him to make that final push. But then that's when they kind of pulled away and then waited close. But I don't think he went back in until like the last 30 seconds of the game. Like, I
Yeah,
feel like we
probably
should
after
have called a
Katie
timeout.
Bates hit that three or something
Yeah,
like
that
that.
three. Like, I feel like we should have called a timeout, or I feel like we should have did something. And yeah, let both of those dudes.
So
Like,
okay, so
like Lonnie had in the second half, Devin had in the first. Put them out there together and see what the hell they could do if they could
so
close that
like
game out.
I was into the same kind of like mindset or like thought process last night, and I was also thinking like, did Devin like, did he disappear on the team again? Like when, like instead of finding the ball, right? Because we've talked about that a few times. Him needing to get the ball or demand the ball more, and then also like the Spurs needing to run plays for him or whatever. So I was like looking at the play by play or whatever last night to see, because it felt like that too. Like okay, how come he wasn't starting with the ball in his hand every play for those last 4 minutes? But I don't know. It just, like you said, it was one of those like bad timing things. It was like he came in, and that's when Keita Bates started to make shots. And really, in 4 minutes, there's not like, it's not infinite number of possessions you can get. But like Keita Bates started to hit shots, and then you get those two Devin Vassell like missed 3-pointers like in the last like minute and a half or whatever. Which, who knows, if all he needs to do is make one of those, and now maybe we do run the last 3 plays in a row for him or something. But
yeah, I will say he came out. I thought he was only
that
like,
we have. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Devin, like in terms of like Devin like disappearing or whatever. I don't think it's that he disappeared. I think just the shots just weren't falling anymore. He started off like 5 from 5, and he finished 8 for 17. So like, yeah, he went 3 for 12 the rest of the night. No free throws. I don't know if he doesn't get respect when he goes to the rim, and doesn't get to the free throw line, but like, yeah, he went like 3 for 12 the rest of the night after starting out 5 for 5. And I think those other 3 baskets he got were also like 3 straight buckets. Like it was all together in one like string. So it felt like he scored in chunks instead of like, I don't know, consistent. Like a star would be like 5 points each quarter. Like Devin's were just chunk spots. And I don't know. You guys had brought up like Lonnie and Devin needing to play and close like that fourth quarter out together. I didn't really like pay no mind to it, because it felt like Lonnie was rolling when he was just on the court by himself.
The reason I bring it up is because like I would say like the last I don't know, maybe like 30 seconds before they check Lonnie out, it felt like at that point we weren't really running any plays. It was just like Lonnie has the ball, everybody get out of the way, and let's see what can happen. And so it's like, okay, if that's like going to be our mindset, give it to the guy with the hot hand. How about we have 2 offensive threats out there? And even if you give the ball to Lonnie and let him start the play, at least you have the threat of Devin Vassell out on the wing.
And I've always kind of I tell Jake all the time, like, I feel like Devin shoots too much, but at that time I'm like, well, the funny is so aggressive. He gets to the rim anytime he wants. I feel like Devin could do the same thing. I feel like Devin could get to the rim anytime he wants. But like, if Lonnie was just driving, because it was like that, give the ball to Lonnie and get out of the way. Okay, well, if he's gonna like draw, a defender or 2 in the paint, like that's when I want Devin shooting them threes. Like he I mean, I think Keldon's our best 3-point shooter now, and maybe Dougie's up there, but like Devin's right there with those guys. Like, yeah, like get him in the game, let them go together. Devin has breathing taken, and if not, then as soon as he catches that ball, then go to the rim. Like, he can dunk on people too. Like, I don't know. I wanted them to attack the rim, both of those guys.
Yeah, especially because as the game was ending, we were working really hard, and Miami didn't really look like they were working that hard. You know what I'm saying? And part of that is because of their caliber of team and quality and all that. But also, maybe we could have made them work a little harder. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the personnel and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and to like just to kind of like rebuttal what y'all are saying, like the thing that you also have to know is like who was out there instead of Devin, and it's Josh Richardson, and he didn't have a bad night. He didn't have a bad night at all. So that's like a thing for me where it's like thinking about it in that manner too. Like, yes, having like the 2 offensive threats would have been nice, like at the same time, but Josh Richardson was still playing in his role, like as good as you needed him to for that manner. He was playing the defense that he needed to, and he went out there and anytime he had an open look, it felt like he knocked it down. So
Yeah, and Keita Bates was doing the same. And when he had the ball in his hands, he made good decisions. Was hitting from the outside and getting to the rim. So it's just one of those things. Like you said, it's tough. Like that in combination with what Juan was saying, which is like just the way that the shots fell didn't really serve Devin up for like the chance to kind of hit he had those 2 threes, but just didn't serve up to like put the ball in his hands a lot in those last 4 minutes or whatever.
And this is the thing that Josh has said. I'm gonna say this, and then we'll start to wrap it up. We'll start looking at the weekly predictions. But this is the thing that Josh always says that I like had noticed it more within this last game, and that was just like how much it felt like yes, our guys are heating up, but Pop will still take them out as soon as he feels like they played enough minutes. And that was like my only thing was like at times
it's Jake. It's like wait, Richardson only has 15 minutes, but I need him to get to 17 minutes.
It's like a thing where just like like Pop. We know that Pop likes to do that though. We know that Pop likes to have his fixed rotations. He does not adjust his rotations that much, and it was like a game last night where it was like Devin just went 5 for 5 and you're only going to let him play 6 minutes in the first quarter. Like let him play a little bit more. Let him, he's the only one doing something out there. Let him shoot a little bit more.
You're winning 4-25. Like it wasn't like it killed our momentum.
It didn't kill the momentum, but that's like still the factor that like in hindsight, it didn't kill the momentum.
Yeah, but like
in the moment,
first quarter is a little different. Like fourth quarter is when it's like, yo, the guy with the hot hand and you pulled him out. That's when it feels a little bit more. First quarter, it's like, good, we did what we need to do. Let's save some gas because we would like to do that again in the next quarter and in the next quarter. You know what I mean?
Again, like I said,
yeah,
Devin
we got killed in that second quarter. Yeah, Devin had the 6 points in the first quarter. That's all it was. He just had made 3 buckets. It was a dunk, maybe like another little breakaway, like a little layup, like off of miscommunication. Devin wasn't like, oh my god, like this guy just hit 4 straight threes, hot. You know what I mean?
It just felt like you knew, like there are times when it feels like like this guy is like hitting his stuff, and then like it doesn't feel like they've necessarily cooled down. And like I'm not saying. Like maybe that first quarter wasn't exactly as I'm thinking of it as, but it's still those moments where the back-to-back threes, like why would you pull him like only like a little bit after he hit those threes? There's times where it happened to him and at times where it felt like Lonnie should have stayed in as well. And it was like, why are you pulling him when he's getting his run, when it feels like he hasn't necessarily cooled down? Well, we could still use him longer. I
feel like both of those guys are young, like Lonnie and Devin. I feel like Lonnie, especially on the second game of back-to-back, we got our like 3 key players out and Primo fouled out, which was another body taken away from us. Like I feel like Lonnie and Devin should have had like 35 minutes last night.
Well, so that's the only pushback I would have on that is that, like, yeah, they're on fire, but then they just start chunking up whatever shots. Like Lonnie,
it's you have to like ride the wave, and maybe in your opinion, Jake, is that Pop pulled them a little bit before the wave ended, and in my opinion, like the when they pulled Lonnie with like 4 minutes to go or 8 minutes to go or whenever in the fourth quarter, it felt like it kind of felt like we had overstayed the welcome a little bit. You know what I mean? Like his wave had kind of come down a little bit. So like it's a balance, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like Lonnie would take a dribble and take a pull up mid range, a step inside the 3-point line, and they would clink off the iron. I was like, okay, Lonnie, these shots aren't like the heat check shots you need to be taking. Like we still need to get stuff going. I feel like that's why Pop pulls them. It's because he's like, look, now you're just taking nonsense shots.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
see, but whenever I say like because it's like Jacob said, and Christopher said, he has the hot hand. I don't want you to pull him, but Lonnie made a couple he had a couple drives, he made a couple layups, he does a couple of things that Lonnie does. Well, then that's when I feel like you should run a play for him so he doesn't do things like that. So he's not Christopher said, give the ball to Lonnie and get out of the way. Like I feel like when they have the hot hand, yeah, you could do that a couple of possessions, but at one point Pop needs to be like, okay, down, I'm sure that he has a play, in his pocket where Lonnie's going to get a wide open three or a dunk and let him feed off of his momentum that way instead of get out of the way, and go do
I,
something.
I do think he runs those plays. Those are the plays where he's at the top of the key and we run the pick and roll. The same stuff we do for like Dejounte or we used to do for Derek. And
Yeah,
then,
but I don't want to pick and I don't want him to,
but
because I feel like the pick and roll is the same thing. You put him in a pick and roll and then go make a decision. Either you're gonna go score, or you're gonna
Yeah,
drive past.
versus like
I'm talking about
let's rely on Pop's experience to give a misdirection and a good screen
yeah,
that
like
leads to
that.
an easy
Like
Lonnie Walker jump shot
put the
or
ball
something.
in Kata Bates-Diop's hands at the top of the key and run misdirection without him having the ball in his hand. Yeah, just like that. Remember how we used to do with well, I know it's kind of, but like Manu and Timmy, like Manu would just set Timmy up perfect, right? Like all the time, but the ball wouldn't be in Timmy's hands. It would be in somebody else's hands for Timmy to get the bucket. Like that's how I want it, like something like that. And I feel like we could run the same thing for Devin too. Whenever he's hitting all the shots, we'll then go get him an easy layup just to build his confidence even more, or get him a backdoor something.
I think it especially goes to Devin because Devin is just he is like a catch and shooter. You want him like he feels good in motion in that manner. That would literally be the only thing for me is that like in other scenarios, Lonnie's probably not necessarily as good catch and shoot, but that night he was, and that's when I exactly get what you're saying.
If you're asking Lonnie Walker to try to break somebody down when everybody is just standing still and looking at him, that's different than let's run a few screens so that when he gets the ball, now he can break somebody down as they're in motion, and we have already created a few different, maybe a lane or something, you know what I mean, versus like let's just give him the ball and now make the play from zero, you know what I mean. It's like we could have helped him more.
Yeah. Victoria, our friend Victoria had added a comment just saying that Lonnie needs to be consistent when he is on the court. Our friend of the show. So, shout out Victoria.
Well, he does. Everybody's been saying it all year, and he has been we just got to write. And he said that I believe they asked him about the Derek White trade. If it has anything to do with it, and he said no. Right, it was mental. It's just the way things are going now. So I hope that he could put it together the whole last, because we're gonna need him to play like this if we want to make that 10th spot.
Or if they're gonna have any plans to continue to rest a guy like Dejounte or Jakob or something like that, on a back-to-back or after a heavy game or whatever, then we're gonna need more from everybody.
Yep. Well, with that,
I definitely think
go ahead, Juan.
I definitely think the role being clear, like you're the guy off the bench. He's not deferring. He's not doing that. Now, I don't know if that really messes with shot selection or anything like that, but for some reason it's worked. Like Devin leaving the bench,
I think it is. You know how he said it's mental. I think it was kind of he was lost with maybe Derek and Devin, and now that Devin's just up there and Derek's out of the way, maybe that was his mental block. It was kind of like he didn't want Derek to leave, but it happened, and it helped everybody.
Yeah, because it's not like it made Derek not being there or Devin not being on the court next to him made Lonnie now shoot 4 for 6 from the 3-point line last night. I don't buy that being that direct of a cause, but for whatever the reason, Lonnie's been having a good 5-game stretch. I'm happy with it. It's what we want, right? It's what I said earlier this year. Lonnie just needs to be 6-man scoring. He had 0 assists last night, 22 points, 4 for 6 from 3. That's what I said. That's a pure 6-man scoring guy.
And you know what? Even last night, Lonnie did make good plays, and he set Jock up a couple times. Jock hit that 1-3, and then he's kind of breaking everything. But but he set him up. Yeah, he set he had some perfect passes, and we were kind of not making anything at that time, but.
Yeah, I will say though, about Lonnie needing to be consistent was on the court. We sat and had to watch Jakob Poeltl go through a really rough mental stretch and it affecting his free throws, right? And it was the other things that he contributed to on the floor that allows you to kind of be supportive of him and everything like that. Well, same thing. Like, Lonnie's had a rough stretch, like a lot of this year, but it's like, if you can sit and support your center, clanking up those free throws, you can support Lonnie, working through this, because we see this little stretch he's been on. Like, it's been fun to watch. He feels like he's got more confidence. I mean, when he has that confidence, this man is like, you know what I mean, like flying 3 inches above everybody's head and everything like that. So I mean, like, man, we want the best for him.
That one breakaway dunk, where it kind of did look like he traveled a little bit. He caught it like at the elbow. His head was at the rim. This guy, yeah, he's explosive. He's dynamic. When he's playing well, this is like what we all were hoping for, right? When he's playing well, when he's playing right, you just got to stick with it, like Chris said. And I've stuck with him. I have patience.
Yeah, like I feel like he's just putting his head down. Like I think he finally realized he can get to wherever the hell he wants to get to. Because I feel like that's been the major thing. Like he's like blowing past people now. Finally, instead of shooting the threes, yeah, I know you have to take them. You got to keep the defense at bay, but like I love it. Like aggressive Lonnie, like head towards the rim. Like I love it. Like he had that crazy layup over Bam yesterday. Like little things like that and little plays like that.
Super wide off the glass.
Yeah, like off the top of the glass, and Bam was looking at him, laughing at him, like, well, what the hell was that? Like,
yeah.
Like,
there was a play against Washington where he does what he always does. Like he like takes really 2 big steps, and yet he's still like higher than everybody else. And he just like laid it up, and they kind of like, it was like a close up, and you could just see the Bradley Bill. He like he's in street clothes, and he's
yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw that, and he's like, what just happened? Like, how did he do that?
There's been some great the two-handed on the baseline brings it around and still can go back to finish. Like,
yeah.
And also like, we know that this part of his game this is the part of his game that doesn't last forever. You know what I mean? Is like being able to jump over everybody. So it's like, let's get a lot of it and let's use it to our advantage while we're building our skills that are going to make you a better player, like longevity wise, as those things start to go away or whatever.
For sure. Lonnie Walker has been killer these last couple weeks, and it's definitely something that it's good that we were able to kind of bring it out to light, especially because I know Juan's a huge DJ fan. I know I'm a huge Devin fan. Chris generally just has a nice talk about everybody, but Josh isn't on all the time.
I'm starting to imprint on Kellen Johnson. That's like, oh my god, like I just love his I obviously.
Wait, you got the Keldon on today?
No, I'm going Patty today. Actually.
Oh, okay.
I love his antics when he's yelling and screaming and all that, right? But like what I've been really enjoying this year is like how when he's playing really well and he's being really calm about it. Like that is just like it. That has been so good. He's calm while he's finishing through contact. He's calm while he's like shooting over people. Like, I don't know. He just seems very calm in like in not traffic, but in intense situations. He's just, man, it's becoming
never
great.
Watching him when we first got here. Remember, he would just try to run over everybody and
just
run to the paint. Like there never, like if you would have told me, Keldon Johnson's gonna be the best 3-point shooter on the team, I'd have been like, you're tripping, bro. Like, get out of here with that.
He looks calm. So he looks calm, and he's starting to have more confidence in his skills. And then he'll hit you with a big, like, he'll just start screaming, and then you're like, oh yes, like he hasn't lost that part of him yet, or not yet, but he hasn't lost that part of him. He's also just gaining the other stuff too. So like, man, I'm just like, I think he's been, and then also like with no Derek White on the court anymore. Like Derek White for the past, I don't know how many years, has been probably my favorite player. And so now that he's gone, it's just like, okay, and now I'm like latching more onto Kelly even more.
Hey, and remember, Draymond said he's going to be an all-star, so that'd be nice.
So like Victoria had said again in the comments, she was like, Keldon, Victoria had got the this year's Fiesta jerseys of him, and we were like joking about it. We were talking, and I was like, you know what? They should just go ahead and put Keldon's jersey in the rafters, like right now. Like this guy he's one of my favorite players, just his attitude and everything like that. We were just joking, like the HEB commercials, the he was at the rodeo this last week. Him and
Mhm.
Lonnie were like dancing to the Cupid Shuffle, but they were wearing like their whole
Oh
cowboy
yeah,
getup.
the cowboy stuff.
Yeah, and like as soon as I saw that video, Victoria sent that to me. She's like, "Check this out," and I was like, "Raptors! Like this guy is he's a Spurs legend. Like already, he's one of the greatest. His attitude, and we need to do everything in our power to make sure he plays 100% in a Spurs uniform and nothing else. And so I love Keldon. He's amazing.
You know, and I think like I still am not 100% on board with the Derek White trade, and at the end of the day, I do feel like it's the economics that made them pull the trigger, because all the things that we talk about these guys, Derek White brought all that too.
Yeah,
but
he did.
but also like, but I do understand like, okay, if Derek White is out of the picture, we need to solidify guys like Keldon Johnson, like you said, like. Don't let that guy go away. You know what I mean? Because he's another guy who brings all of those things outside of the basketball court. And now that we're starting to see more and more of his on-skill courts, like we need to prioritize that guy. You know what I mean? Which I think they are.
Yeah,
I was
no.
a couple years ago. Sorry, Jake. A couple years ago, I was like really, really buying into the young core. And like again, I love Derek and all that stuff too. And I'm really like disappointed with it. I wanted number 1 in the rafters for Lonnie. I wanted 3 for Keldon, 4 for Derek, and then 5 for
Yeah.
and then also in like a really petty way, it would have shown what number wasn't in the rafters. And then
Ridiculous.
After all that, so I'm still hoping that we can get at least 3 and 5.
Let's whoever if let's say negative, we don't make the playoffs and it just the last month and a half doesn't go our way. Whoever we draft in that first round, it's like, all right, you're rocking 2.
Yeah.
No hands or butts. Victoria talks also wanted to comment saying that she always tells Juan that whenever Keldon takes his threes, he's always able to take his time, get his breath right, then it will just float in, and that's 100% true. That's like
his shots do flow right. They're like so high.
Yeah.
And they like go in slow motion right. That's all.
And they're wet. They're pure shots too.
Yeah,
That's just to Chris's point. Like he is so calm now in his game. He's not rushing anything. And there was that. I think was it against Washington or Miami where like it was Washington because
it was I think it was Washington.
He like pump faked.
I was gonna say sometimes it's like he's taking too much time, and then I'm like, oh, never mind, he made it.
Yeah,
like he sits there. Yeah, he pumped, and I was like, take the fucking first shot, and then he took the second one, and it was like. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because I was thinking the same thing as soon as he said like, "That's fine."
Yeah, and that it's just his evolution of his game has just been beautiful and it's perfect. Like he's becoming like a compliment to Dejounte. Like his game flows. He doesn't need the ball in his hand, and he's just like a kind of like a dynamic scorer. He can.
That's why them 3 work perfect. I feel like DJ sets both of those guys up, Jakob and Keldon. Like. We have great chemistry right now. We need to keep that together for ever.
Yeah, I know you guys are probably a little bit more particular. Y'all will probably want more size to come out of that 4 and then move Keldon to the 3. I think I'd assume that's like a thing that all 3 of y'all are. Yeah, so it's just like a thing where I don't know. I feel like if Keldon literally just adds just a little bit more bulk to him, he's the perfect 4. I feel like he's another one of the perfect 4s.
No, can you imagine if we had I know not everybody's a Tim Duncan, but if Keldon was your 4 and then he had to go guard Tim Duncan would drop an 80 piece on that.
Yeah, like you're saying, adding bulk. It's like he'd have to look like Giannis Antetokounmpo before you feel comfortable having him. You know what I mean? Like,
but he's not that tall. Like if he gets bulk, he's gonna start looking like Zion. Like.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I would just say this, Jake. Imagine everything that we have right now, but you get a little bit bigger. Where in terms of where Doug is at, you know what I mean? Like that's all. That's all it is. It's not like taking anything away from Keldon. It's just adding size at the 4 next to Keldon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I just
Keldon's bullying like all the other little small ball teams, and he's at the 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's because, or it's not because, but it's the opposite of okay. Last year it was like, hey, we know we're gonna have Keldon Johnson guarding Zion Williamson. Then the next night he's gonna guard Valanciunas. Then the next night he's gonna guard Anthony Davis. Like that was different. You know what I mean? And so like you'd much rather see the other thing, which is like you said.
remember that the fast break? I think Sean Elliott pointed out on the broadcast. We're like, look, Keldon's growing. At one point, he would have passed this, but he just realized he's bigger than this person. And I can't even remember who it was. I think it was like that.
Some poor some poor little dude on
Yeah,
Washington.
but do you remember he just like
Mhm,
Euro
mhm,
stepped and like laid the
mhm.
ball right over the top of him? Like Keldon could do that to threes if he's huge, dude. He's like big and strong. I feel like if he gets any type of small three on him, he's gonna do that every single time. Like
Yeah,
now that that's a part of his
yeah,
game.
and
Now that he's grown, like
just like Victoria said too, like he does have a little bit of that in him too, a little bit.
move.
Where he'll look at the bench, he'll look at the opponent's bench when he makes that three right by them or whatever, or he'll look at our bench when he does something 2-3 times in a row, like, you know what I mean? Like, man, I vibe with that for sure.
Yeah, no. There's so much excitement out of all of the guys on our team. I feel like there's no player that I'm like looking at in terms of our young guys and just being like, what's the future with this guy? Like, am I certain about how I feel about this player and stuff like that? Like, I feel like there's like nothing negative necessarily to say about these guys, and like in a sense putting your faith that these guys are going to progress and be like actual like really solid basketball players is just like a thing. I don't know. I see it with everybody on this team. And like I was saying earlier that just like I know that like we all have our one guy, and I know Lonnie is Josh's guy
That's
at
my
this
guy.
point in time, you know. So this is all it's all nice to just see that like there's a good amount of progression from all of our from the guys that we're looking at, you know. DJ from last year being the second option to DeMar to this year being an all-star. Devin's little jumps that he's taking to become a primary ball handler. Keldon in his 3-point shot, and now we're seeing Lonnie be a little bit more consistent. So
Yeah, and Keldon too, like just him finishing in general. The same thing about like Lonnie understanding that he can break people down off of the dribble. Keldon understanding that he can go through people when he has the advantage. Devin starting to learn those things too. That freaking first quarter dunk yesterday, the picture of it is nuts, man. When he's got that thing cocked back with this far back, it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's why I say that he could do that. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's gonna poster, everybody all the time, but he's so freaking long. Like, yeah, he was like way back there, and it was like nothing to him. He's just like he's so big. I just wish he would go to the rim. I feel like he could, if he wanted to, he could get 5, 6 free throws a game. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
just go try to posterize. Go try it. Fucking try it. Posterize everybody. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no kidding. Well, all right. We did preview the next week's games already. So I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping it up with the weekly predictions. And I'll go ahead and to reel it back in. We're playing against Memphis on Monday to end the Rodeo Road Trip to end up February. Then we'll come back home and play against Sacramento on Thursday before going out to play against Charlotte on Saturday. So, Josh, once again, you weren't here. You weren't able to give your little predictions, so you're lucky you didn't lose any points last week. But
I would have said 2-0 anyways. You know how I roll.
yeah, I'm
Go
sure.
ahead, take him
I'm
away
sure
from
you
me. I don't
would've.
care.
But no, nobody lost any points last week because we went 1-1. But this week, we have these 3 games ahead of us. I'll want you to talk about how you feel about this week, and I'm gonna start pulling up the injury reports just because we haven't seen that real quick, and then I'll before I get you with your prediction, I'll
The main ones is that Rashawn Holmes sat out this last game for Sacramento. He might be back though, because it was just for that game. Gordon Hayward's still out with the Hornets, but they also have a few guys that were doubtful and out for today's games, which is the 26th. Nick Richards and Jalen McDaniels, power forward and a center. So 2 big positions, which the last time we played them, like they just were big all the time for 48 minutes. So, it could creep back in. And then Memphis, the only person it said Dylan Brooks could be back at the beginning of March, which is San Antonio, so something to keep your eye on as we look forward to that Memphis game.
That's another guy
Okay.
that I don't like playing against. Their whole team is just.
I hate.
Yeah,
I hate
and the
Harrison.
last time we played Memphis, there was no Brooks, and Bain stepped right into that role of just being that guy chirping and hitting shots and chirping.
Yep.
All right. Well, Chris was
I
able
don't
to
like
give
that
out
guy
that.
either. Tell that guy he needs to go. Is he still enrolled at TCU one? You said he was is he still taking
he-
freshman classes?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
That's
Punk.
too crazy.
Well, yeah.
I
all right,
just
so-
don't like him because he goes off against us. I'll probably love him as
Yeah.
on our team, but not
Well,
today.
I mean, we say that we hate all the Grizzlies and stuff like that, but we know
Yeah.
Kyle Anderson's a Grizzly. So
Yeah, I
we
hate
know-
him
we know
now.
we can never.
If he comes back, I like him, but I hate him right now.
yeah.
Yeah,
See,
as long as Kyle doesn't do like no DeJuan Blair stuff and kick Tiago in the head, then
Oh.
Kyle will be fine.
Yeah.
But like, okay, if Kyle's like, if something's happening and Pop's on the floor yelling and Kyle is like, yeah, Pop's right, then I'm good.
Well, yeah, Chris was able to put out that injury report. It seems like Sacramento might be without a big, and seems like some of the bench rotations for Charlotte as well as Memphis might be out, might be in. So, Josh, how you feeling about this week? What are your predictions?
Yeah, I feel super good. You know how I'm gonna go? I'm gonna say 3-0
Golly.
for sure.
3-0.
Yeah, I do feel like we could beat Sac. Like, that's just how I feel about them. The same thing for Charlotte. To me, like the records might not say it, but I feel like we're just way better than those guys, and I think we're putting this together at the right time to try to make this playoff push. So I think we could beat them. And then as far as Memphis goes, like we talked about it, they have lost like 2 out of the last 3. They lost to Portland. They lost to Minnesota. They just beat Chicago. So like they're not playing their best basketball in the last couple of games at least. So maybe we could take advantage of that, and I think we can get that dub. Like I think it's time for it's. I think they're up 2-0 right now on our series. We still play them once in February and then once in March. Like, or we play them on 28th, right? So yeah, it's in February. Like, I think that we could beat them. I think we'll go 3-0 this week for sure.
Okay. And Juan, what's your predictions off of that?
I'm gonna say 2-1. I'm scared about that Charlotte game again, because I know it was like Gordon Hayward, who I think he went for like a 40 piece on this, and it was like perfect from the field, what it felt like. But I don't know. That's just the one game that I'm like deciding on. And so it's kind of like a safer bet, 2-1. I believe we'll take down Memphis. I feel like I've said that the last 4 games like against them. They're on a 4-game winning streak against us. So the 2 this year, and I believe 2 dating back to last year to end that series, season series. But this will be the game we get it done. I know Jaw just got out a 40 piece against Chicago. So hopefully, that's out of his system.
Hey,
And
they could
then,
rest him if they want.
Yeah,
They
So,
should.
I'm not too crazy scared about Sacramento. I know Sabonis has given us like some troubles in the past, but like I don't want this to come back and burn us. But like De'Aaron Fox has kind of like been like up and down like in his like impact on games. And then like I look at the stats and I look at like how they've been doing since that trade, because I was personally like kind of like against why would they trade Halliburton instead of Fox. But they do have a duo. Sabonis is really good down low. He's always giving us troubles inside, and then Fox and Goff. But I just feel like we can handle those guys. Like Dejounte versus Fox, got it. Pirtle versus Sabonis, got it. And then from there, I'll just say 2-1 for the week.
Hey, in that Charlotte game one, yeah, you're right. Gordon Hayward had 41 and he was 15 for 19, and our leading scorer was Bryn Forbes.
Yeah,
25.
well, but like, and I don't remember like who all was playing or specifically who was sitting for us, but that was just a game where we just couldn't get anything easy like at all, and it was like their length was bothering us
Yeah,
a
I feel
lot.
like they were just bullying us the whole game.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of scared. That's the type
Yeah.
of memory I have.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the game that Dejounte played 35 minutes, but he went 4 for 11, and he only had 10 points.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. We need a bounce back from DJ for that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, and Chris, I'll let you finish it out on your thoughts on what you think of the week.
Dang, I probably am gonna say 2-1 also. There's no back-to-backs, which is good. Out of all three of those ones, though, like the Memphis one is just the one that doesn't look. It just looks the roughest for me, mainly because like they're playing the best right now out of the three teams. Sacramento's like on a 4-game losing streak. Charlotte, hasn't looked good in this other stretch that they're in right now. And Memphis is just a good team. Memphis is just a good team. But I will say though, we need wins, right? We need wins. So I'm gonna say 2-1. I want to win against Memphis. I want a win. I don't know. It's the Sacramento too. Like when I look at their roster, like Harrison Barnes, DiVincenzo, Harkless, Holiday, Chimezi honestly has kind of fit into a good little role with them. He kind of understands what he needs to do there. Davion Mitchell is like one of those guys who can kind of get going really quickly. So, definitely looking for like I would love if our length could really disrupt a guy like that. You know what I mean? If Devin Vassell is locking up Davion Mitchell all night, will be awesome. So, but so I'll say 2-1.
I don't know if anybody said it, but Sacramento's on a 4-game losing streak, like currently right now.
Yeah,
so,
saying that's what I'm saying. Like they're not playing as well like right now as it currently stands. But I think it was, I can't remember who it was where we played them and it was like in their schedule it was like L's, San Antonio win,
New York,
and then it was like L's. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, as the New York stretch, that was terrible.
yeah. But I'll say 2-1.
All right, sounds good. I'll go ahead and put mine out there because it was pretty much the same thought process that y'all had, which is the 2-1. I don't think I think that in my head it's just looking at all three of these games and just saying, all right, we'll probably slip up one of these games, but like I would just really like to see us win against Memphis and would really like to see us win against Charlotte. It's just sad that like I don't know why I'm thinking that it's just like we're gonna slip up against Sacramento, but I just have the feeling that we're just gonna come home and we'll just have a game that's gonna get thrown away.
I like the idea of being able to defend when somebody has an offensive threat that comes from the center position or the post. It makes me feel better like having Jakob there. You know what I mean? Because it's just stymieing more of their offensive production. So I don't know, like that makes me feel good about that matchup though.
Yeah. No, and it might just be kind of like what Juan was saying, just like having like that little bit of fear. My fear is not necessarily coming the way that Juan's little cautiousness is, but it's still just like I'm just looking at Sacramento and I'm just a little uneasy about how the game's gonna go, I guess. Because who knows? Maybe they just maybe within like these next couple of days they actually do kind of get it figured out a little bit more. They know what to run with De'Aaron and Demonis, and they just it just works against us, you know?
Yeah, and so Sacramento, they'll see Oklahoma City and New Orleans Pelicans before they see us. So they might be on a 2-game winning streak at that point. That's another thing is Memphis. That's what I meant to say earlier. Is Memphis is just sitting and waiting on us at this point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they did play last night too, right? Memphis.
I think so. Yeah, I think they did.
So we get the same amount of rest before we play them.
And then Charlotte has Detroit, Milwaukee, and Cleveland. So they're actually on the road for 2 games at Milwaukee, at Cleveland, and then they go home to play us. We go on the road to play them. But anyways, I think for me, like perfect scenario would be we beat the Western Conference teams, and if we get a loss, it would be against the Eastern. Just so we're still helping ourselves out in terms of that playoff push.
Yeah, and we're kind of rooting for Sacramento, right, to beat New Orleans. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, I guess so.
We need them to get a dub before they play us.
Yeah.
All right. To look at the updated scoreboard, Juan was the only person that went 1-1 on the week, and so he gets his point, and I don't lose a point because Devin Vassell did average 17 points over the 2 games, like I said he would. So
Wouldn't that mean
I
you gained a point for that because you bet on that?
no, I don't want to get out that far ahead of last place. So I'll just accept the fact that I don't lose a point this week. And
I'll take his
I was
point.
just good. Nah, can't give that point away to anybody. But I
Chris,
definitely
do you want to make any bets on like scoring or any other auxiliary like?
Yeah, I guess
thing?
right. Since we're coming towards the end, it's like if there any way to make up some extra points. I don't know. Like I don't know if there's a way like if I could go a little bit. I'll say that we beat. I'll say that what I said earlier, which is that we beat the Western Conference teams and we lose to Charlotte. Is that like worth anything to anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So your exact prediction is that we're beating Memphis, beating Sacramento, and we'll lose to Charlotte.
And I would say that that's a good bet because we haven't beat Memphis in 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And
So
so
what is
then-
that? I'll wager extra point. Is that what it's going on or what?
Yeah. So if we go 2-1 and it's that way, then you'll get 2 points. You'll get 2 points on the week.
And what if we go 2-1 and it's not that way? He just gets 0 points. They balance out.
Oh yeah. So yeah, do I lose a point if it doesn't go that
you
way?
gotta lose. That's the bet. It's like the bet is a win lose. You can't
I thought
just break even.
So
Yeah.
So
only
you have to
only
lose
first
something.
place gets to have those kind of rules then.
That's what I was saying. I was like, Jake.
I didn't gain a single point. I didn't
Yeah,
even gain a point this week, man. Devin, because all right. So in that sense, right? Like I had said
You
2-0 on the week.
you should have gained.
I should have gained a point, but I'm
yeah.
saying that I'm not
Yeah.
gonna gain the point because
Fair.
I'm first place.
Jake got lucky too because that Washington game was career highs for everybody. Everybody was dropping 30, and then Devin was at the bottom with like 10 points. And then so it was like, everybody had career nights, and all of a sudden the one guy Jake needed to score really well he's down there. And then Jake the bet, if for those who didn't see last week or a couple days ago episode, Jake needed Devin to average 17 points over the 2 games to try to gain a point, and Devin had 12 the first night, and he needed 22, at least 22 the second night to get 17, and then Devin hit 22 like midway
In the third quarter.
Yeah,
Midway in the third
yeah.
quarter.
and then was just like, all right, I did it, and Jake got it by just that much. And so,
Yeah. Did you see the little threads going around on StatMuse too?
Yeah, that he'll have this Friday we should be seeing
That they're
this
finally
upcoming
gonna
Friday
put
we should
Devin's picture on there because he
so
got a career high.
what the heck?
by 1 point, but we'll take it. We'll take it, man. No, yeah, it was definitely funny because I finished up that Washington game and I like sent a message to our group chat just saying like Devin needs 22 in order to get 17, in order to average the 17, and I was also just like that's a career high. If Devin gets a career high tomorrow, I'll be happy. And sure enough, man, I get my career high, win my bet.
You know what they say about big time players? They step up when it's needed most. He knew Jake needed that 22. He did it. He got it from that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wish
knows
you
what's
would
up.
I wish you would have scored more in the fourth.
Yeah.
Me too.
Jake,
Or
he
even,
knows,
or even the third.
hey, you know the Spurs. Every time it's Devin Vassell that does something great, they post like a tweet about it, right? And every time we always tweet out Devin Vassell fan club, and we never get featured on the broadcast. Every time I feel like they only do it for Devin, and it's like we literally got the guy who started this Devin Vassell fan club.
No kidding.
And
I've got to keep plugging.
I'm trying.
Yeah, me
Josh,
too.
They probably look at it and they're like, "Look at this weirdo."
Josh, do
Where
you
you
have
missed
any extra bets you would want to make? Try to catch up some points here.
No, dude, I'll bet all my points, all -5 of them, that we're gonna go 3-0.
Oh no.
That is not a bet that we can accept.
Maybe we'll have to like there's like where is it at? It's like in April we get like a home and home against Portland plus another Memphis game right around there. Maybe that can be a time where like Josh can have some bold
If we
predictions.
go, if we make the 10th spot, then I'm gonna leapfrog Jakob for the number 1 seed.
That's not how this works.
He's been saying all year that we're a lottery team. So if we make the play-in, then he's automatically to the back.
I don't think that's how this
That's
works.
my bet.
I can kind of transition that into this next point before Jake has the send off. Again, it's just another avenue. It's just a statistic that just kind of gives you something to like look at and evaluate. But the Spurs record right now is 24-37, but our expected win loss is 31-30. And if you watch the Spurs broadcast, if you are through whatever means, streams or whatever you do, but Dan Weiss sometimes talks about how, we're like one of the only teams in NBA history to have like a net positive like rating and then be like as bad as we are. So it is kind of like a crazy outlier year. We got talent, we do get some good things, and then we just lose close games. I think we're like one of the worst teams like in the clutch scenarios. So
Still winless after trailing in the third quarter.
Yeah, and Bam hit that damn jump shot and kept the streak going.
Which that was the same thing. Same thing against Washington.
Yeah,
Lonnie hit the
jump
buzzer
shot for us to go up. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just even if this year doesn't go exactly how we wanted it to, it's something to look at and go, well, we are still kind of playing 500 basketball, and we're a young team, and we're supposedly bad. We're just losing all the close games. I know in the NFL, it's much more prevalent where it's like a bad team can finish 6-10, but in like one possession games, they were like 0-6. And so then like you just look like a losing team. Well, that's because you were a losing team. If you could just flip some of those games, even this year, it would look better. But going into next year, you add a piece, maybe use that cap space. You got to rely on growth from inside, from all your players. But I think it's just something to just pay attention to. Like, yes, our record isn't what we want it to be. We could fall into a top 5 pick this year, or we could still make the play-in with like 20 games to go. But we're 31-30 projected, like win-loss. Like that's what we should be. We should be that, which would only put us around like the 8th seed in the West. I think the Clippers are like 30-31. Minnesota is like the 7th seed with just like a couple games above that. So we'd be like right in that spot, which I would say is a good spot, especially after losing a guy like DeMar and then Dejounte stepping up. But that's just where we are. Even if like you think we should be better, blah, blah, blah. Well, now you played worse than you should have. You add a younger talent through the lottery, and then you go right back at it, maybe with some like a guy you had in free agency. And now you're better off for it.
This is kind of like a hypothetical, but y'all were talking about Josh Primo and Trey Jones, right? And Jake, you were all tweeting about it yesterday. Like that's my backup point guard. Blah 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 blah. Like in Miami Heat tweets and stuff like that. But like we do have 3 picks, right, in the first round this year. Juan, I think before we started, Juan was saying, it's going to be this, this, and this if the season ended today, right? So what if, like, Jake, you see it. What if another team sees it and it's like, yo, I need a backup point guard, and we trade that guy and our picks, and we move up and go get our 4? Like we have Primo. Juan said that we're in a pickle right now. Josh needs minutes, but Trey's playing better. He's one, we're gonna have to make a decision on one of our point guards. Would you be willing to trade one of those guys?
It would definitely
move up in this draft because only because we have the picks.
It would definitely be another trade that's like, oh man, I really don't want to see this happen, but like I understand it for the future. Personally, if anything, I'd much rather try to use Josh Richardson as a trade piece over Trey Jones, because Josh Richardson, he's still going to be on contract next year with us, and he might be just a bit more of a valuable asset comparatively to Trey Jones, because you know what you're getting with Josh Richardson.
But in this hypothetical, they need a point guard.
In this hypothetical,
that's what I'm saying.
This hypothetical, they need a guard.
The reason I say him is because they're gonna get picks and they're gonna get a young piece. Like that's why I say.
No, yeah, and I mean it's just it's
for them to be trading back and us to be trading up. They're gonna want picks and they're gonna want something in, like that. That's a high upside trade. Jones.
Exactly, and so I'm not opposed to it. I really don't think other than the Dejounte Murray and then like with like Keldon and Devin being just like a tier below, and Jakob in terms of just like how valuable we have them. I really don't think anybody else on this team is like susceptible to trade. Like it's like
I think
anybody.
to me, it's only Dejounte.
Well, like that's what I'm saying. Like we could trade Keldon, we could trade Devin, we could trade Jakob, but it would have to be for a lot more than what like you'd expect.
If we're going up into that, because to me, it's like the only way that I'm trading one of those guys is if I'm picking 1, 2, or 3, because of those, because of the top 3 in this year's draft.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I'm saying though. It's just like if I saw that trade happen for us to get up that high, because like we just like the cards just didn't fall that we couldn't get up there. I wouldn't necessarily.
Well, we're gonna make the play-in, so
I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I also would not like it that much. So it's the same thing with the Derek trade, because that's a win-win for both teams. Seeing Derek flourish in Boston right now, just being that much better than what he was with us this season, like it's a good trade for them. And then
didn't Marcus Smart just get hurt too? Right, it came out at a perfect time for them. They picked up Derek, and I think that dude got hurt.
I don't think Marcus Smart was hurt.
Is Derek even playing that much better, or is he playing the same he played over here? He just.
I think that it's.
I mean, I think
over here, I feel like he had to be like the number 2, and over there, he's like the number 3 or 4, and I think he just fits it better.
Yeah,
like he has good people around him. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, man.
Yeah, and that's why I say I think at the end of the day it was the economics, because it's like we could have slid him into the position to be the 3rd or 4th guy or the 6th guy, right, coming off the bench, like we've been saying. But then it becomes a thing of like, are you paying $17 million a year for that guy? You know what I mean? Which sucks, because I feel like he's worth it, but also like, like they have other plans, for their future.
Yeah, and that's I told y'all that whenever I got on a while back, like that was the thing for me. Like he's the older guy on our timeline, and we're paying him good money. Like I felt like it was the right move at the right time.
He's the older guy, but it's like, is he old? Not really. Like Juan was like, I'm not that old. I'm like 23. I'm 24. He's like, I'm not that young. That's what Juan said earlier. But it's like in the NBA, Juan, we'd already be like, Juan, you're past your prime, so I'm gonna fire you.
Yeah. Well, what is Derek? 29?
No, 27.
27? Oh, 27. So he'll be 29 at the end of his contract. I don't know what I saw was 20 by 29.
31 at the end of his contract.
Yeah.
Dang, what the heck? I don't know what I was reading.
At the end of his contract, so that's why I'm like, that contract still would have looked good next year. You know what I mean? Like in terms of it being a tradable thing, but they just felt they were ready to pull the trigger.
Boston got I feel like they got exactly what they needed. Like somebody to get the ball out of Jason Tatum's hands. Let that guy run it. Like they're probably gonna do exactly what I want our guys to do. Probably gonna put the ball in Derek White's hands, let Jason Tatum run around, and Derek's gonna put the ball out in perfect, and he's gonna be wide open.
In
somewhere.
6 games that Derek has played with Boston, his field goal percent from the field is 38%, and his 3 is 25 or 26%.
So he's playing the same.
And he's averaging 10 points a game.
Yeah, so, and I was looking at some of the Celtics threads, and they were saying because somebody was highlighting that he's been shooting at 38%, and then people are on there saying tonight he was terrible, and the last game he was terrible, he can't make a shot or whatever. So yeah, it's probably a lot of the same.
And do you think that played into us getting rid of him? Because it's not.
I mean, maybe like I said, I just think
as high as y'all guys, and I've always said it, man, and like I don't know, y'all. I feel like y'all have always been super high on him, and he did this and did this. And I'm like, well, I don't see it. Like,
it's all of the other things.
When he was the 3rd and 4th option behind DeMar and LaMarcus, he looked amazing because he was just
because he was the 3rd and 4th. But as soon as the role switched, then it wasn't there.
But we saw what he looks like with a good team.
And also
but we put him in that position. I mean, obviously it wasn't with us, but he looked great in that position because we had those players, and we literally just gave him to a team to where he could do that again. But he's gonna have to prove that he could do it.
But like also my frustration just came with the idea of I don't think that we did everything that we could to see if we could have found a solution like that. Like if you're putting more time and energy into Keldon and Devin and hopefully Lonnie, well, then those have to be the guys that replace DeMar DeRozan, not Derek White. You leave Derek White where he was at. You hope that those other guys grow into that role, and now you have a very reputable point guard as your third or fourth option. I don't mind paying 17 for it, to be honest, but obviously the Spurs did, or maybe they felt like that timeline, like Keldon and Devin aren't get there fast enough. By the time they do get there, now it's too late. It's too late.
I think
for
I
Derek,
said I said that I would give Lonnie 15, or what did I say, Jake? I remember I texted y'all one time because I saw the Patrick Beverly deal, and I was like, "What the heck? That guy's making that much?" Like, so you, Chris, you're saying all that, and you're willing to give $17 million a year to a guy? And
well, we're already doing it. I guess what I'm saying is
I know, but
if we would have kept him for another year for like all of
say he played this year, like, because if he doesn't, I'm not going to say
he was tradable this year and desirable this year. So if he did it again next year, he would have less time on his contract, and I think that would still be a very like tradable contract next year. Teams would still want that.
I'm just saying that. I'm just saying with what he's averaging, like Juan just threw out his stats, and I don't know if that's, to me it sounds like it has to be worse than what he was doing with us. I mean
26% from the three. That's not. I don't know if he could be worse. That's
yeah, like
low.
So like he went to, like, say he goes over, like, you're willing to pay 17 million for that?
Well, because
for his defense, for his ball control, for his basketball IQ, for the things that he already knows about how the Spurs specifically play basketball, like all of those things. Yeah, like he's valuable to me. You know what I mean? And I think that he was valuable to the Spurs too. Like, I don't think that they made the decision. I don't think it was an easy decision for them. Me personally, I wouldn't have pulled the trigger on it. And maybe it's different a year from now, but still, I feel like they could have made that decision a year from now.
It's also clear.
I think that they gave Dejounte and they gave Derek. I mean, I think Derek making more, right? Derek making more than Dejounte?
Just by like a fraction, or like by principle, like the next man up. Like he was literally making like $100,000 more.
Oh yeah, so like I think they gave him similar deals, and like Dejounte, he outplayed it, and Derek hasn't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Derek's numbers.
If there's something that we know. Go ahead, Juan.
Derek's numbers this year were 14 points on 42% from the field and 31 from three, like with us. And then in only the 6 games, like, yeah, he's had like a little bit of a drop off, but he still did everything else defensively, and he still did all the intangibles. And we knew it was like, oh man, he's struggling on offense this year. Like he's struggling from the field.
Yeah. And I mean, and you're also hoping that, and it's not out of the realm of possibility for him either. You're hoping that he can return. If you can have a guy in Jakob that's top 5 in blocks and contests, you have a guy who's leading or top 3 in charges, and you got a guy in Dejounte who's leading the league in steals. Like you're well rounded in terms of your defense. Like it's valuable.
Well, and that's why I bring up Lonnie's contract, because I feel like we're paying 17 for what he's doing, but nobody wants to pay Lonnie. But what is Lonnie's averages compared to Derek's?
I wouldn't. I don't know if I would pay Lonnie.
And they're like,
because of the economics of it, you probably
don't have
would
to give him the 17 like you would.
Yeah,
give,
I would pay him.
Derek.
I would pay him less
Derek
than 17, like a 14 or something.
You gave Derek that. I mean, he did what he did in Denver, right? And like, you see things like that, so you're like, you have a high upside. Lonnie has.
He was leading the league in charges last year.
We haven't. Yeah, but I mean,
that's the other thing though, is that like Lonnie, I'm sure Lonnie's numbers are not too far off of Derek's numbers for the year.
This year, Lonnie is averaging 11.6 points per game on 40% from the field and 30% from three. So worse than Derek.
All right, so on the offensive end,
but he's making how much? Like
1 second though. On the offensive end,
difference.
On the offensive end, Lonnie Walker hasn't been as good as the Derek White that's in a slump this year. And then look at what Derek brings to the table defensively.
We've acknowledged that Lonnie's in a slump this year as well. His 3-point shooting is down.
But either way, so either way, just to put in that comparison though, like, you know, Lonnie's shooting worse than Derek in that manner. And then Lonnie does not add what Derek does defensively. Lonnie's not a terrible defender.
But what
he's not.
At the time that Derek got that deal, was he comparable to Lonnie at this time?
Yes. Yes, like Derek was better than Lonnie. Like at that point, when Derek got his extension, he was better than
I
Lonnie.
feel like you pay for potential, right? I feel
When
like
did
you
Derek
do,
get
and
his
sometimes you
extension?
overpay, and sometimes you underpay. I feel like we paid for Dejounte's potential, and we underpaid him, which is it worked out for us. And sometimes we overpay because
Yeah.
we think, and I feel like that's
But
exactly what we did with Derek. Like that's how I feel.
and to be honest, you might be right in terms of like you overpay for a guy like Derek, but also you work it in tandem with a guy like Dejounte. You say, okay, we got value that we didn't have to pay for with Dejounte. You can take a little bit of a financial hit on your overpay on a guy like Derek because of the value
Well,
you're getting from Dejounte.
to me,
You know what I mean?
to me, is like we overpaid, and I feel like we got him out at the right time, and we didn't.
I mean, maybe
we did not
maybe
screw the guy over. Like we put
yeah.
him in a great position.
And that's and I fully believe that that's where the Spurs' head was at. That it was like this is just in terms of like the time. This is the time. This is the best time to do it. And so they pulled the trigger. Me personally, I probably would have waited. But like I said too, when it
You
happened,
probably couldn't have got that deal. I feel like we got a great deal.
maybe not. I don't think
Yeah.
that. I think that his contract still would look good next year. You know what I mean? Because I don't think that it would have ever. He would have had to have had like a really hardcore drop off or an injury to make his contract feel like a bad contract. You know what I mean? Like a bad contract, not like a slightly overpaid, but a bad one. But and I also agree though. Like it made me feel better about the trade knowing that they sent him to a good place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Saying like.
And at the same time, to like put that whole value aspect into the trade, like we got another first round pick for this year. We have an upgrade of a first round pick if possible, like within the next couple years. And then what else did we get out of that? We got Josh Richardson, which we could flip for another pick. So
And Romeo,
we could
right? Did Romeo come from the Boston
potentially
trade?
and Romeo
yes.
Langford, which is just like a prospect that we could build up or whatever, right? And so that's at the moment what you could think of that is 2 first round picks and upgrading a first round pick within like the next couple years for Derek White, which was your 129th pick in draft. And you think about that value in return, and that's like to me that's exactly why we needed to do that trade.
No,
Like why
I understand, and the longer that we go through it, like I understand the where they felt they needed to pull the trigger. I just didn't feel like it was, and I guess and they probably would agree with me too that it's not that he was a negative with us. It's just that the positives that we were getting by giving him up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, before we finished out this podcast, I was just looking through some of the comments we got. Victoria had also said, heck Memphis, along with Desmond Baines and that Jason Momoa wannabe. And I'm not going to lie, it took me a second to understand who she was talking about. But
Oh,
she's talking
Steven
about
Adams.
Steven Adams.
Oh my god, I like Steven Adams.
Me too, but that
I
cracked
love
me up.
Steven.
And then on Facebook, we had good morning. What's your thoughts on Coach Pop making history in all time? That's also a great point because we could do that this week. We could win 2 games this week.
2 wins. 2 wins.
Mhm.
Wait, does 2 wins tie? We need 3 to win, right?
No, we could have tied it with Miami.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
he just needs
one
2
more
to
win.
put him over the top.
One to
Yeah,
tie.
one more win to tie, and one more win to put us over the edge.
I'm
And
glad I saw that because we could have glossed over that this week and then not even like I've touched on that. We could do that. We will do that this week. Pop is already the greatest coach of all time. There's no doubt about
All
it.
right,
But
bonus point
Mhm.
for picking which game that we break the record. Is it Sacramento or is it
Sacramento.
Charlotte?
Sacramento.
Mm.
I'm
Which is a big because that if you pick Sacramento, that means we got to beat Memphis.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, with my record, it has to be Sacramento.
Oh yeah,
With-
you're right.
Yeah, Josh's record has to be
Y'all,
Sacramento.
Never mind.
y'all got the 2 and 1. Y'all could make y'all's pick or whatever.
No, I think Sacramento too.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
you said
then
with yours too, because you said
Yeah.
we're gonna beat the West.
Yeah.
Just-
That's why I was like, never mind.
just to be different, I'm gonna say Charlotte because I said that we're probably gonna lose against Sacramento, which is still
Hey,
a little bit off.
Like say we get over the Memphis, right? If we could beat Memphis, our guys are gonna be like, "Yo, we're getting this for Pop today." Like that's
Yeah.
more incentive to go take care of business. I mean, it should already be an incentive for our guys to go win for Lil Pop. You know what I mean? But
Which
yeah, we're getting
that
close
is
to it.
is one thing that I will say that I like. I'm not gonna take back on my like weekly predictions or whatever. But if we beat Memphis, it definitely feels like that's gonna be like the morale booster that's gonna get us to go 3-0 this week. So that's a feeling that I have as well within coming into this to this week. But that's just the thing that I wanted to throw out there. Juan, Josh, Chris, do y'all have anything to add before I start closing out this podcast?
No.
No, I think we did it already. I think we got our anything else.
I will say just he said like, what are your thoughts? I mean, it's been an honor, right, to just have him there with us and being one of the greats, not just in basketball but just in sports in general. So we're privileged for sure.
Exactly.
Usually I try to be like pretty nice, not nice to Jake, but like sometimes Juan and Josh like jump on Jake a little bit, and sometimes I just try not to jump on as fast as I can against Jake like they do. But Jake liking the Miami post during the game,
whack, right?
During the game,
it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh man! Does anybody have the tweet that I had tweeted out? I was just kind of scrolling through my feed last night.
And I seen it. I saw it. Jakob Moreno liked it, and I was wondering, you follow the Miami Heat or what?
Yes, I do.
Why? So it literally just said the Miami tweet was something like Bam is cooking tonight or something. Yeah.
Jakob Moreno liked this tweet.
We're literally getting killed by this guy, and you're like,
he just dropped 36 on us, and Jake's happy. He's a hell yeah, man.
Like, what is that? What? My goodness.
They were telling the truth, man. In the moment, I couldn't. Like, I saw Bam.
Jake said, likes do not equal endorsements.
Yeah. Come on now.
Stupid.
All game. I'm talking about, Trey Jones is doing this. Devin Vassell hitting this. I need Lonnie to get more touches. Lonnie gets more touches. Let's go. Like always supporting the entire team. And
exactly. So why you stop? Why you ruin it?
Yeah, I was still supporting guys.
I don't understand.
I was 100% okay with the outcome though. Like that was like the thing I was just like
I was 100%
That's the problem.
100% okay. We lost.
I'm saying that like I saw Bam tear us up, and I was like, look, what can we do about it? We didn't have. I said it on the podcast earlier today. I was full on expecting that outcome in like the second and third quarter, and it didn't come out until the fourth quarter.
You were rooting. You were like, I was waiting on this to happen. I was just expecting it to.
He was standing like this with his thumb, waiting for that like. He was just holding his phone.
It just like clearly, Jake. How old are you, Jake?
I'm 18.
You're 18.
I'm 18.
To me, this is just a clear like you didn't watch those finals in 2013 and 2014.
I did.
You
though.
were too young.
Well, okay, but I wasn't paying attention too much in 2013. That's the thing. I didn't start getting into basketball until 2014.
LeBron is cooking tonight.
Yeah, come on, dude.
If I ever saw that in the finals, if we play against the Heat in the finals, there's no way that I'm gonna be like that. There's no way that I'll ever be like that. But this is a regular season game, and I really like Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. So there's no,
you really like the Miami Heat.
Yeah. Kyle Lowry is a good player. Tyler Hero is a good player. I don't know, man. I don't have any rebuttal for that. I am a fan of the San Antonio Spurs, but I also enjoy Miami Heat basketball. They are a team that I can respect. So that's my final piece, man. That's my final piece.
Whatever, dude. Look at the text. That's how I felt like you were watching the game yesterday.
Hold up. So let's see. I can get up on the screen right now. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping this up, guys. We do this podcast every Sunday at 10 a.m. where we go live to all 4 platforms of Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about Spurs basketball on the near daily. We love the interaction with the Spurs family, so do not be afraid to come talk to us. There's lots to be talked about throughout the week when we're not doing the podcast. If you couldn't catch us, here during our live time. The VODs do come out on all 4 platforms, once again being Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, where you can catch up and recap the entire video from there. But with that being said, guys, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and we are out. Peace.